Hello, my name is H. Davis, and today I'm going to be talking about the most haunted places in the United States. Now, between the ages of, let's say, 2 and 8, have you ever gone to a haunted house? Some have said yes, some have said no, and some have said, I don't know, it's not part of my childhood, which I say to you, boring answer. Most people have been through a haunted house, and they would describe it as either the best thing that could ever happen, the most exhilarating and fun thing ever you could do as a kid, or super horrifying, like a dentist giving you a root canal, which I wouldn't claim it that bad, but it's quite fun. And these places I have to talk to you about today are actually haunted, and you can look them up with your own discretion, but they have some dark history. Now, first we have to travel all the way back to the spring of 1692 in the quiet little town of Salem, Massachusetts. Now, in Salem, there were these 3 young girls who claimed to be possessed by the devil. They were speaking in tongues and riddles and terrorizing the town, putting the town in a state of hysteria, basically plaguing everyone as if it were a virus they had put on everyone. Now, these 3 girls had many men and women dead in the gallows. They had them put to death by their own bloody hands during these witch trials and witch hunts. Now, this one man I want to talk about, his name is Giles Corey. Giles Corey is actually located right here. He was a notable victim. 80-year-old Giles Corey was a farmer who was accused of being a warlock after publicly questioning the girls' motives. In September 1692, after spending months in prison and refusing to stand trial, Corey was stripped naked, a board was placed on his chest, and heavy stones were piled on him as life slowly drained from his body. And it is said that his ghost still roams Salem Howard Street Cemetery, where Corey is buried. And it's one of the many sites across the United States that holds paranormal spirits. Now, this next place I want to talk about is the Waverly Hill Sanatorium, located in Louisville, Kentucky, built in the 1910s. Now, this institution is home to many experiments that were sadly distributed to sick patients who had no say. At the time, there was a disease going around, an pandemic that had no cure, and the disease was often fatal. In some cases, doctors tried experimental methods to help ease the pain, but they ended up not necessarily working. They were doing these experiments for no apparent reason. Now, stories emerged of illicit medical experiments in which the sanatorium was the scene of many deaths. And it was dark and grim, and they claimed that over 6,000 people died, but local historians, current historians, say that the number was way higher, being 8,000 people being tortured and over 152 deaths happening in this institution. Now, with these deaths, there are possibly spirits still roaming around the sanatorium, and it's kind of sad. There wasn't really a cure for the disease, and people were just experimented on to be experimented on. And I would call that malpractice. Some would call that just straight bloody torture that was unwarranted. Now, this next place really put a knot in my stomach, and it is the Lalaurie Mansion, one of the most well-known haunted places in the world, located in New Orleans, Louisiana. Now, the mansion was owned by Madame Marie Delphine Lalaurie, located and shown right here. She was well known as a socialite that hosted soirees and fancy parties during the early 19th century. The guests would eat and drink and dance and party all night long, unknowingly sitting under horror. As you can see, there is a slave right there doing her bidding for her. Why she chose the slaves to murder, I have no idea. But legend has it is that she was actually sleeping with one of them, and she just ended up killing him one day for no reason. either it was a relationship gone wrong or she just had some sort of vengeance against them. This last place is called the Stanley Hotel, located in Colorado. People might know this place. I know this place as that hotel from The Shining. And it's a beautiful hotel, to be honest. But this place kind of has a dark meaning and undertone, but it's one of my favorite haunted places. And it was based off the book The Shining and the cult classic movie. So, this hotel has some dark lore behind it. One night in this hotel in Colorado's mountains wilderness, inspired by Stephen King's best-selling book and movie, The Shining, there was a couple, Massachusetts couple, and they opened the isolated resort in 1909 and reportedly never left. According to the staff, Mrs. Stanley can be heard playing her Steinway piano in the music rooms at night. And Mr. Stanley occasionally shows up in photographs. And there have been reports of bags being unpacked and lights coming on and off and people just going through as their please. And it's a creepy place filled with a lot of spirits. Now, in conclusion, the United States is home to many places that are filled with paranormal activity. I wouldn't mind taking a trip just to see these places, especially the Stanley Hotel. But if you decide